In this video, what I want to do is show you how to look at your data in Excel and even use Excel to do some very simple calculations. I'm not showing you anything that's a secret or couldn't be found on Google, but there are a couple of aspects of handling data like this that I'd like to mention to you. So the first thing is we have our data here in Excel, and we need to make sure that the data itself can be easily analyzed. And very frequently that involves transforming a variable or recoding a variable so that the data matches what our theory is or our expectation or just how we want to handle this data. So the first thing that I'm going to look at is this variable from the GSS called sex. And I want to change that to what I would call a dummy variable, where I want to make sure that it's obvious to me that this is measuring either being male or female. Now, what you select should be based upon your theory. So if I'm going to write this paper and say that my theory is that men would be more likely to advocate for spanking because they are more hostile or because of the presence of testosterone, or however I'm going to frame this debate in my paper, that's how I'm going to also measure my variable. So let's create a variable called male, and actually the easiest way to do that is to copy the old variable and then paste it and then change the name. Now for male, I'm going to have this dummy variable be 1 for males, 0 for females. So I'm going to double check real quick and take a look at my variables to make sure that I'm getting the gender direction correct. When I do this, I usually have a little notepad or a piece of scrap paper next to me so that I can jot these things down, and have them easily accessible so I don't have to keep going back and forth. So female is 2. Under my new coding, I'm going to change that 2 to a 0. So select the column, and over here on the Home tab there's a button called Find and Select, and I want the replace function because I want to replace my 2's. You can see that I practiced this, and replace it with a 0, and I'm going to hit replace all. They made 33,000 replacements. Okay. So I'm going to close that. So now I have my male variable. And you'll recall from the last video that spanking as a variable took on a number of different, there were 4 possible outcomes. I want to simplify this. So I'm going to change spanking to either spank or not spank, kind of like, again, a dummy variable. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I have 7 different observation values. I'm going to do these in reverse order. So I'm going to start with my 9's, my 8's, and my 0's. Because I'm creating a dummy variable, I don't want to have something be a 0 and then also be one of these inapplicable ones. So these are all responses that are in the data set, but they might not have been asked this question. So it's about 36,000 observations. I'm going to take these and change them to a period to denote that it's missing. So let's create a new variable. I'll copy this one, I'll paste it over here, and let's call it corporal punishment, CPUN. Yes. Okay. And I'm going to select it. I'm going to do my find and select again. Hit replace. It was 8, 9's, and 0's. So let's start with the 0's. They're going to become missing. Replace all. There's 35,000 replacements. 9, replace all. And 8, replace all. Okay. Now Going back, I've got to also replace the 4s and the 3s, and now those are going to be zeros. So 4 is going to become a 0. Replace all. My 3 is going to become a 0. Replace all. My 1s and my 2s are now going to become 1s. Well, 1 is going to stay 1, and 2 is going to become 1. And I hit replace all, and I do OK. So now I've taken my variable and I've changed it. I should only have 1s, 0s, and missing. All right. Now in order to do this easiest, and again, just not really worrying about what the data in format is, I just want to get my answers quickly. I'm going to actually delete all of these missing observations. So I'm going to do one sort of the whole sheet on column F. And my sort, I think it's here. Here it is. I'm going to sort by capital punishment. Okay, hit OK. Now, all my zeros are here. Remember, we've got thousands of zeros. Let's cheat a little bit and use the scroll bar. I'm looking for the spot where the 1s turn into periods. Oh, there we go. If I remember, there was like 35,000 of these, right? There we go. So I'm at 23,394. And use the mouse. I'm going to delete all these. I'm just scrolling down with the mouse, selecting all this data. Remember, it's thousands, so this might actually take a minute. You don't have to do this. The only reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to make a mistake. Right? I don't want to accidentally try to analyze data that has a period in it that's missing, that's not there. So I'm just going to take a minute just to delete these 35,000 observations. And I've reached the bottom. So I'm going to right click, hit delete. They're all gone. Okay. So now I either have all of my data is complete for males and females over here and capital punishment yes over here. Now if I'm going to just use this data, I need to see what the average is. What is the average amount of support for males? It's technically a proportion, but we can think about it in terms of an average. So I'm going to do a couple of things. First, I'm going to sort by male. So now all my zeros are here, and all my 1s are at the bottom. And I'm going to find the average, or the proportion of when male equals 0, so females. Now, in order to do that, I need to know in Excel how to calculate based upon a function. So I'm going to hit equals, and then I'm going to type the word average. And you see them pop up here. Right? It says we're going to use this average function. The easiest way to do this is to give it a range. So I'm going to start at this one. So it's E2, column E, row 2, and I'm going to go all the way down and find out where my split is. It's easier just to scroll using the bar over here. E2 all the way down. I know, that's not fun. Sometimes this is the most monotonous part of doing data work. All right, 131.80. So I'm going to do E2 colon E131.80. Got my parentheses, and it's going to give me the average. Sorry, that should have been F. Sorry, F. I selected on the independent variable instead of the dependent variable. All right. So that average is 0.708. What does that mean? It means of my sample, 70.8% of women favor corporal punishment, not capital punishment, corporal punishment, right? Spanking your child. I'm going to move this over here, give it a note. Female, yes, and that is 70%. Now let's do male, yes, mean. I also like to, off to the side here, put in little notes. Okay. So I need to do the same thing for this cell. It's going to equal E 13181, I think it was. 13. I'm looking for the first one. Oops. Yeah, doing formulas is kind of tricky in here, where if you don't do it exactly right, it'll give you an error message. So I'm just going to pause for a second, and I'm going to find the selection of the data that I want to analyze. So again, I have to go back to that break in the data from where we went from zeros to ones, and there's my first one, 13181, and I'm going to select that and go all the way down here to the end. Slider here. There we go. Go all the way to the end to row 23393. So that was 13181 to 23393. And I'm sure there's some trick that you guys have where you can immediately go to a row or a column, but yep. 13181. Okay, so I'm going to get the mean of that range of numbers equals average. Again, it doesn't like it when I type from F13181 colon F23393. Okay, so what do we got? Well, 78.1% of males. So maybe men are more likely to spank their children than women are. That's finding the mean. What's the next step? Well, that's measure a central tendency. Now I need to measure a variation. So I need to find the standard deviation of these range of values. Standard deviation, okay, STDEV, and I'm going to use the same range of values, so it's F2 through F13180 for women. Female, yes. Standard deviation. Male, yes. Standard deviation. And maybe I can just copy and paste and then change the word average to standard deviation. Let's see if that works. STDEV. Oops, put it in the wrong spot. I meant to copy that and paste it here. Excel is so picky. All right. 4, 1, 3, 3, 4, 6. So picky. It's got to be perfect. All right, there we go. So now I have both the mean and the standard deviation for each one. And this is where I stop, because you need to know how to do this by yourself. I've given you the mean and the standard deviation for each one. Now you need to do the z-score of the difference from the mean. So I'm going to let you guys do that. And this has just been a quick video to show you how to manipulate your data in Excel and how to get some of these statistics by using the equations function. As always, if you have any questions, send me an email, stop by my office, give me a phone call. Let's do Skype on office hours. And as you saw, Excel can be frustrating at times, but it's a lot better than doing 13,000 observations by hand. Let me know if I can help. Take care.